is up, everyone? This is Joshua Howell, writer, reviewer for Victims and Villains, here to talk about the new 2023 film Fear the Night. So Fear the Night stars Maggie Q and is written and directed by Neil LaBute. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I don't know much of his work. I think I've only seen one of his films. He was the writer for House of Darkness, which came out last year. It was, I was kind of surprised it wasn't a Kevin Smith film because it had Justin Long in it and it kind of, had a similar vibe to some of Kevin Smith's films. But I just, I went in expecting so much more. It was kind of like this, are they vampires, are they not type film with Kate Bosworth in it as well. And I like Justin Long. I think he's in some very fun horror movies. But that one just didn't really strike me very well. Neil's also the writer for American Gigolo, the new series starring the Punisher, and I have yet to see that, but I'm very interested in it. So I like Maggie Q a lot. I think she's very talented. I absolutely loved her in the not the Divergent series, not at all. But I did love her in her Nikita show that she was on. I'm pretty sure she was in the television show. It wasn't called La Femme Nikita. It was called Nikita. It was on the CW network, I'm pretty sure. And it was fun. It was fun. I've talked in the past about how I love spy shows, spy action shows with a female lead. I've loved them ever since Alias and Nikita. Even though it is not as polished as Alias, what Alias was, I think it's very fun. Maggie Q's also been in another recent film that was kind of, it's not a John Wick spinoff, but ever since the John Wick films, there's been a lot of these kind of similar, Mr. Nobody. Sizu was another recent one. She was in one called The Protege, and it was not as bad as some of the other films that have come out. For example, there was like Strawberry Milkshake or something like that just wasn't very good. It was on Netflix. Didn't really care for it, but Maggie Q's fun. I think she's great. I think she's just, she sells herself as someone that could kick your ass, and she's confident and she's fun and she's fun to watch. And so when I saw that she was going to be in this film, I wanted to see it. I will be honest, the films coming out of Quiver Entertainment are a mixed bag. Sometimes I find them very entertaining. Sometimes I find them very low budget. This film, although it is a low budget film, it was fun. You get a Maggie Q is with a bunch of other gals, friends of her sister, and they're doing a bachelorette party, and they go to their parents' old house in the country that is about to be sold, and they're just getting together somewhere out in the middle of nowhere for a good time and just hanging out for a bachelorette party. Maggie Q has the most character background of the girls. She is a recovering alcoholic, and she is an army vet who served in the war, and I like her character. Her sister and her friends are definitely tiptoeing around her because they don't know how to act. If she's stable enough in recovery or not. You get the sense of maybe she might have had some incidents in the past where that was an issue, but she seems to be very in control of herself and aware of her limits, and she's doing well, to the point where she's just like, guys, you can calm down. You don't have to be, on eggshells around me. I do have a sense of humor. I am capable of myself. So she goes out with them to their parents' place, and on the way, they stop at a convenience store and run into your typical rednecks who are super toxic and misogynistic and call everybody sweetheart or some other name, and just kind of eye eye goggle, any woman that comes across, and are immediately turned off if that woman isn't scared. And Maggie Q is definitely not the one in the bunch that's scared, and makes that very clear, and you can tell that gets under their skin. So it's pretty apparent that, well, those are probably going to be the bad guys. And later in the film, the girls are in the middle of their bachelorette party at their parents' house. The parents are obviously not there, out in the country, and suddenly their house comes under fire by unknown assailants outside, and they have to survive. The premise is very simple, and the movie's very simple, but for the most part, it was very entertaining. I am all for a bunch of female protagonists out there trying to survive. One of my favorite movies of all time in the horror genre is The Descent. I think that movie is so great. There was a lot more character development and just deeper character traits with those gals than there are in Fear of the Night. There's just enough women in this movies to where some can be killed and you're like, oh, okay, crap, but I didn't really know who they were. And then other ones are like, oh, please don't kill them because I've connected with them a little more on screen. Maggie Q is, like I said, a army vet who's been in the shit, and she doesn't hold back. She takes control. Her sister and her sister's friends are clearly freaking the hell out, but they look to her for guidance, and she tells them, we just got to stay calm. We don't know who's out there, but if you follow my lead, there's a good chance we'll survive this. And it goes down some slasher paths, and yeah, it's good. I've seen some other films recently this year that came to mind when I was watching this, particularly The Wrath of Becky. I don't know if you've seen my video with Josh Berkey on that. I loved the first Becky film. I thought it was fun. It was basically Home Alone, R-rated Home Alone version with neo-Nazis, and I got a kick out of that. I was a little let down by the sequel. I thought it was over a little way too fast. I didn't think there were enough bad guys. I still don't think there are enough bad guys in this film, but there were enough that it did feel like it was going on for a while. Interestingly enough, these bad guys are probably the only redneck veterans that don't have guns. So I don't know if that was a rule or some choice that production made, but none of the bad guys have guns in this film. So it's all knives and bow and arrows, which does lead to some interesting situations and hand in one-on-one combat and stuff like that. But I was kind of wondering for a good part of the film, like, how does nobody have a gun in this situation? I feel like I've never met people who are like this that don't have guns. Anyway, that was a small point. It is bloody. It is fun. There's a good amount of action. I like it. And I'm not purposely seeking out female-led action movies, but it seems like the last couple that I've reviewed for Victims and Villains have been so, and I think this ranks well among them. Maggie Q, like I said, is always fun on screen. She definitely looks and acts and just holds herself as someone who's capable. And I think the bad guys in this film kind of represent the comment sections I see on trailers for these type of films. Oh, there's just no way that a female could hold herself up against a bunch of guys. There's even a character in this movie who I swear was just written based off the comment sections of movies like this. I'll tell you one thing. I remember growing up and just loving any movie with Jet Li in it. Jet Li, if you don't know who he is just this crazy martial artist who's just so powerful. I mean, they were toting him as the new age Bruce Lee at one point, and one of the best things about him was that people always underestimated him. He's not tall. He's not big. He is this small, kind of scrawny guy who just was fast and was capable. And you know, once he hit big in America, people just loved him. I mean, he was in everything for a while. He was even in one of the Lethal Weapon movies, and it was just fun to see this guy who was this small frame that everybody just wrote off immediately just take out other people. And so I don't see how people can root for somebody like Jet Li, seeing how small he is and know that he can take down even some of the biggest of foes, and not also look at women that way. Women like Maggie Q, who has clearly has some training and present themselves well, pitting her up against someone who doesn't have that kind of training, or who looks at her and immediately underestimates her. I think those are good matches. And so I'm never one that's like, oh, it's just unrealistic that, women can get the better of men in action films. So that never puts me off of these films. Um, so I've been giving this film a lot of praise. There's one thing I do have to say about this film, and I'm going to say it in a way that's not, I'm going to try for it to not be spoilery. But as I mentioned, the main character is an army vet who deals with alcoholism. She's a recovering alcoholic, and all of her friends are really cautious around her, and she's definitely stressed. There's a point in the movie where she has a bottle of beer in her hand because she's so stressed, and she's kind of embarrassed, and she just doesn't know how to handle it, and she's tempted to drink, but then she remembers that everything she's gone through to keep her sobriety, and she puts that drink down. And I thought that was a great moment. I work for an addiction treatment and recovery nonprofit, and I work there specifically because we help veterans. And I don't know if you know this, but according to a 2020 report, there's millions of veterans that are dealing with mental health issues and substance use disorder issues. In fact, 8 out of 10 veterans who report that they have mental health issues and are seeking treatment for mental health issues are also dealing with alcoholism, and those are just the numbers that are reported. And it's a serious thing. Veterans go through a lot, and they do get into alcohol and drugs, and not all of them obviously, but the ones that do struggle with that, and there's a lot of them fighting to recover from that. And so there's a point in this film where it kind of makes it seem like, oh, she's so badass that she doesn't need to be in recovery anymore. And she kind of, drinks that beer and throws her sobriety coin away like, I don't need that in my life anymore. That makes me weak, or something like that. That's kind of how it's implied and portrayed in the film. And that really just got under my skin. I hated that. I was like, why would you do that to this character? Why would you put that at this point in the film? We've seen that she's capable. We've seen that she's a badass. We've seen that, even though she is struggling with something in her life and she's in recovery from alcoholism, that doesn't keep her from being vigilant and from being awesome and from saving her friends. And so when they do that as a way of like, almost like the trophy, that really just pissed me off, because substance use disorder is a huge thing in the veteran community, and a lot of people do struggle with that, and it should never be portrayed as a weakness or something holding you back, or something that makes you lesser. It is something that people deal with, but that doesn't make them less for dealing with it, for not conquering their alcoholism. It makes them better. They are working to improve their lives, and they're working to better themselves. And I'm not against drinking. I don't have a recovery story with alcohol, so I'm not, anti drinking, but I'm anti putting people down who have found that they do have issues with drinking and they're in recovery, and painting that as a fault, that they are trying to keep that out of their lives. So that really it really knocked this film down a few pegs for me. Outside of that, there were some fun moments in this film. There's some moments in the third or fourth act, however you would call it, that I just didn't think were necessary at all and kind of dragged on a bit. And then the ending in general just kind of ends. There's some things implied, but not implied very well. And I was honestly just like, when are the credits going to happen? And then they happened. And that was kind of the end of it. So I think the first 2/3 of this film are very fun. The action's great. The gore and blood effects are great. It's a good action slasher film. And Maggie Q shines. I just didn't think the writing shined in this film. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And like I said, suggest the first 2/3 more than the final third of the film. The mental health moment, just kind of like I was saying, if you're struggling with something, if you have come to a point where you recognize that something is impacting your life and you seek help for that, you shouldn't feel like that makes you lesser. You shouldn't feel like you are just weak or less for that. You should be commended and for coming to that point in your life where you realize that this just isn't working for you and it's bringing you down and it's affecting your relationships with others, and you've decided to seek help. If you haven't gotten to that point yet, but you've kind of thought about it, there are plenty of people out there who are looking to meet you and looking to help out. Mental health issues and substance use disorder issues are very hand in hand. Unfortunately, it's a thing, and it's not something to be ashamed of if you find yourself in that situation. Just like with any mental health issue, I would encourage you to look at the resources we have on our website, to reach out to those that are just literally waiting there to take care of you. If you're a veteran, check out the Veteran Crisis Line. And all of the resources that are currently available to you through the VA, through the community. There's tons of providers out there that have special programs just for veterans, and they are here to take care of you. You've served this country, and so they're here to serve you now. So please take advantage of that if you feel like you might be somebody who's in need of that help. Anyway, thanks for listening. And I will be back with another review in the future. All right. See ya.